Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to begin a new science unit with you. It is our final science unit of the year, and the unit is titled Biological Evolution. So we have talked a lot about animals and their inheritance of traits and how those traits are able to benefit the animal in nature. And the animals that have the more beneficial traits will be able to better survive and pass those traits down. So we are going to begin by talking about habitats today and how animals and living things need good beneficial traits to survive in those habitats. So if we take a look at this forest, this woodland forest, which is the habitat most similar to where we live before this land was settled, it was very wooded and very forested, and you still see areas that have forests just like this now. So think about this picture and what types of organisms live here. Okay, an organism is any living thing. So in a wooded area like this with a lot of trees and plants, you are going to get a lot of insects. You're going to get a lot of small mammals like squirrels and maybe chipmunks, rabbits, things like that, or maybe even bigger mammals like deer. You will not have reptiles, you could have a frog, so you could have some amphibians. Okay, but this area is not going to be conducive to life for reptiles. Obviously, no fish, there's no water. Birds would live here, as well as other living things like fungi and bacteria will also exist here. So ecosystems, okay, the forest is an example of an ecosystem. An ecosystem is a combination of all the living things and non-living things of an environment. So it's not just the living things. If we go back here, some non-living things are dirt, the soil, okay, the branches that have fallen off or the dead leaves, they're no longer living. So we're going to talk about the difference between the living and the non-living things here. Living components are called biotic factors, and non-living components are called abiotic factors. Biotic comes from the word biology. Bio means living. The study of life is biology. So whenever you see bio, that means life. Think about a biography. It's a book about someone's life, and biology is the study of life. So abiotic means not living. Another abiotic factor is water. Water is a naturally occurring substance, but it is not living. So let's look. Okay, so we discussed some of these things. We didn't make a list, but we discussed some of the things in our forest that were living and non-living. Soil and water are two of your biggest abiotic factors. And of course, the plants and other living things like animals and bacteria are all your biotic factors. So biotic factors include all of the living components of an ecosystem. Living components include plants, animals, and bacteria, as well as fungi and things like that. Okay, for example, hawks that live in the forest need squirrels, snakes, and other small animals for food. So all these biotic factors work together. And here you can see this Arctic fox is interacting with its environment. And again, its beneficial traits are the white fur. So the white fur turns white in the winter, actually for two reasons. One is to blend in with the snow, but the second is because underneath the white fur is dark skin. The dark skin, and you can even see it in some areas underneath, the dark skin attracts sunlight, absorbs the sunlight, and the white fur traps in the sunlight for warmth. Here are some abiotic factors that are included in an ecosystem. Any non-living thing, soil, water, like we said, as well as the air and the sun, not living, but things that we definitely need in our ecosystems, and the temperature or the heat or the warmth from the sun. within an ecosystem, there are specific areas where where organisms live and grow. In the forest ecosystem, squirrels live in trees, frogs live in forest ponds, earthworms live in the soil, and these are different areas called habitats. So within the ecosystem are specific habitats for different animals. The earthworm's habitat is the forest floor. Now, this is important, especially as we begin to discuss evolution and how animals have evolved or changed over time. What if the environment changes? There are three responses that organisms can take if their environment changes. The organisms can adapt and live in the new environment. The organisms can move to a new environment, or the organisms do not change or adapt and they will eventually die out. So did the dinosaurs adapt when their environment changed? Okay, the dinosaurs went extinct. Large reason why dinosaurs went extinct was because they could not adapt to the environment. Not all animals went extinct during the time of the dinosaurs. There were mammals around at the time of the dinosaurs, and it is believed that dinosaurs went extinct uh, because of an impact on Earth from an asteroid. And also, it is believed that there was a lot of volcanic activity back then. So the impact from the asteroid, along with the pollution from the volcanoes, caused the earth to cool, became polluted. Dinosaurs, being cold-blooded, could not adapt to the changing environment. As we have discussed in the past, cold-blooded animals, their blood adjusts to the warmth of the environment. And if a reptile is to enter a cold environment, it freezes up and it can't survive. Mammals are warm-blooded. They were able to burrow underneath and survive even in a polluted environment. And so that has a lot to do with our study with evolution. Animals that are able to adapt to survive, those that can't, don't. Here we're going to talk just a little bit about coral bleaching. The algae that exists within corals have very specific requirements for survival. If the water temperature increases above a certain level, the algae will leave the coral. This is called coral bleaching. The corals all turn white because the algae, which had given them the bright colors, have left. When coral bleaching occurs, the fish that lived in the coral reef will move to a different coral. The coral itself, as an ecosystem, will die. So the fish have to leave and find a new habitat. Otherwise, they will not survive. They cannot survive in this dying ecosystem. Okay, so that is just one example of how animals have to adapt in order to change. We're going to talk much, much more about ecosystems and evolution and adaptations as we move on. But I wanted to very specifically focus today on biotic factors and abiotic factors. Biotic factors are all the living things, and abiotic factors are all the non-living things. So for today's assignment, I'm just going to have you describe the difference between biotic factors and abiotic factors. Okay, and that will be it for today. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you have a great day.